Okay, so most of your outlets are going to be installed like this, where instead of using the screws, remember this outlet's dead, so I can touch as much as I want. Instead of using the screws, they just stab into the back. Most of the problems that you guys have with your electrical systems at home are because people use these stab-ins. With time, these stab-ins, they wear out, they heat up, get cold, hot and cold, hot, cold, they get brittle, they break, and so you have a lot of open circuits and problems like that. So I don't like to use these. I prefer to use the screws. And since we have 2 wires coming into this already, 2 whites, 2 blacks, it looks like there's 1 copper, but it's actually spliced up inside. We need to do tails. We need to put some pigtails on here. I'll show you guys how to do that. Anytime you have more than 2 wires, you should do a pigtail. So first I'm going to cut loose all these stab-ins. We're going to put in a new outlet. Okay, and these are a little bit longer than what I need for tails. So I'm going to cut these to about 5 inches out of the box. I'm going to cut them all the same length. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. And then I'm going to strip off about 1 inch off of every wire. Okay, I've already made these right here. This is just pre-cut wire that I've already cut out of another section. So, oh, don't want to do that yet. I guess I've got to strip this first. So this is the wire that we just pulled in. This is the fresh row mix we just pulled in. To strip it, I take it like this and I bite the end of it, just like that. Don't worry about messing up the end of the wires. We'll cut those off later. And that kind of opens it up. And then I just pull it back. All the way. It's about there, because I can push that slack back up inside the wall. This box has a loose fitting. Sometimes it's tight, but this box is kind of loose up there. So I can end up tucking in that extra jacket later on. Cut that off. Push that up so it's about 1 inch of white hanging into the box. And I'm going to cut this the same length as the other one. And I'm also going to cut off 1 inch. Sorry, strip 1 inch. Now, I have this extra wire. This is what I call a pigtail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to splice these wires correctly inside the box, and then I'm just going to have a little pigtail hanging off. That's going to go to the outlet. So these things also, about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so before I start wire nutting these wires together, I like to organize them a little bit so they tuck away a little nicer. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just move the wires aside so they're not all tangled and twisted up inside the box. Make them as neat as possible. Okay, that's about as neat as it's going to get. So I'm going to take my 3 blacks, plus my pigtail, and a red wire nut. And you want to get them so all the ends should be about even, like that. And when you put in your pigtail, it should also be even. Otherwise, it doesn't fit inside your wire nut, and the wire will come loose, or it'll pull back out again. So, see that? Bad job, Alan. Bad job. Sorry, trying to not block the camera and do a good job at the same time. It's pretty hard. Jake's probably wishing I would just do a good job and not worry about the camera. Sorry, Jake. Okay, so what you do is you twist and 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 you twist, twist, and you twist. Okay, you want to twist it till the wires twist together. Once the wires twist together, you know you've got a good bite. And then take and tug on each one of the wires one by one and try to pull them out of the wire nut. Make sure they don't come out of the wire nut. These are all nice and secure. Okay, once that's done, you're going to, as neat as you can, tuck that into the back of the box. We got to get more wires in here, and the better you keep it nice and clean and tidy now, the easier it's going to be later. Okay. all the wires are tucked in nice and neat. Jake just asked me a really good question. He said, what about this bare copper wire? How come this isn't a problem? In the United States, in residential applications, we don't use a rubber-coated jacket on our ground wire. It's just bare like this, and it is a problem. These screws, these are going to be hot. Once I put the wires on here, these screws are going to be hot. All these screws in here, this will be a ground, but these screws are going to have electricity running through them. If this ground wire touches one of these screws, it doesn't create necessarily electrical hazard, but it's going to short circuit the system and it's going to keep tripping your breaker. But that's what it's designed to do. It's a safety precaution to protect the end user. So when you are managing this copper wire, make sure that you keep it tucked away from all the other wires, and when you tuck it inside the box, make sure it tucks away nicely so that's not accidentally going to touch any of these screws. That could be a problem later on. Okay, once I've got my pigtails and all my wires are nice and tucked in way back there, I'm going to cut these wires about 6 inches outside the box. So about 6 inches of slack. Then I'm going to go ahead and strip off another 3/4 of an inch or so, 3/4 of an inch, an inch. And then I'm going to twist a hook into them, just like this. Just like that, okay? All of them get a little hook. Okay, then, where'd the screwdriver go? There it is. Now when I go to put these on, the black wire is my hot wire, the white wire is my neutral. The black wire, sometimes it's labeled hot, sometimes it's labeled neutral, sometimes it's labeled black, sometimes it's labeled white. The easiest way that I've seen to do all the time is that the black wire goes on the gold screws and the white wire goes on the white screws or the silver screws. And then this copper wire here goes on the ground, which is usually green. Now the reason that you bend a hook in there is that you can attach it to the screws. So if you see, I'm taking this copper wire, putting it on the ground one, and if I hook it like this, and then I tighten that screw, it sucks the wire in and makes a really tight bite on the screw. If I put the hook on the other side, so it should go on this side, if I flip it over and put the hook on this side, when I tighten the screw, it spits the wire out. So obviously, you want to stick it on this side, which for me is the left side. I don't know if it's always that way. I don't know. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the screw that I'm not using. So white wire, silver screw, copper wire, green screw, and the black wire right here goes under the black screw, or sorry, black wire, gold screw. The hook goes on the left side. And I'm just tightening that one up to get it out of the way. Now remember, when I tuck these wires in, I'm going to tuck them in such a way that the copper wire doesn't go near my screws. I'm going to kind of tuck them away as nice and neat as possible. Just like that. Screw this dog in there. Okay, just doing a once over, making sure that copper wire is not touching anything. Looks good. I'll come by later on and there's a little slot on here so you can get a little play out of it so you can level it. Before I put the final faceplate on, I'll level it, make sure it's good. Put the electrical down at the bottom stuff. Okay, so when I go to put the wire inside of my cut-in box, this is the electrical box when it's going to go behind the TV. You can see these little kind of cut out things right there. I take my tool and I'll just bang a tab, okay? Don't bend this tab in. A lot of people grab it and just bend the snot out of it so it makes a big, loose, open hole. We don't want that. We want it to kind of have a pressure on it so when I feed the wire in, it squeezes the wire and doesn't let the wire back out. I'm going to take the wire, put it into that hole that I made in the box, feed it through. Your box should grip the wire. The wire shouldn't just pull back out. It should have a little bit of friction in there. Put the box in the wall. Okay. Now tighten the screws. Okay, we're not going to try to kill it, just plastic. But you do want it nice and snug. Uh-oh, that one didn't grab, which might happen to you guys. So I've got to loosen it up. I'm going to have to manually push the tab out. Didn't flip like it was supposed to. There it goes. Okay. Okay, this outlet that we're using now, this is a different outlet. This is a recessed outlet. Jake, can you see that that's recessed?
Yep.
This is a recessed outlet. That way the plugs don't stick out so far to hit the back of the TV. Not much left. We're going to put on the mud rings. These go on just like the boxes, piece of cake. Feed the wires through. Woo! Come here. Go up inside the wall. And then screw tight. This is the faceplate we're going to use. These are called single gang wire ports. This is the faceplate we're going to use to go on all of the low voltage cabling, both behind the TV and at the bottom of the wall. This is also a wire port, but this is a split design wire port. So that if you have a ton of wire that's coming out and you want to put a faceplate on it, you don't want to unwire everything, use split design. Jake's getting my spares, so this is my spare. Alright, this installation is done. There is nothing left to do but hang it and plug stuff in. Save yourself some trouble. Plug the power cord in first. Then plug that into the TV. And then if you have enough slack, if you can, plug in the HDMI, which I don't think we're going to have enough slack in this case. Okay? Then just pick it up, hook the top of the TV, drop the bottom in. Cash your check because you're done. There we go. That's it. So we filmed this and it took quite a while because we were filming. But if you were to do this on your own, a simple installation like this should take maybe 2 hours, maybe less if you're fast. Just plug everything in. There's no secret to hiding the wires that are hanging down. Just zip tie them up. Find something to zip tie them to. Zip tie them up, and you're done. So as always, I'm Alan. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.